For the first time since 2017, army tanks were seen roaming in the streets of Harare. This is equipment that should be used when there's a war, when there's a state of emergency, or when there's a coup, like what happened in 2017. What is happening? This is the question that most of us are asking. Now, Nick Mangwana, of course, on Twitter, saying, "No, this is a routine test of our equipment that was already scheduled before." You know, one asks to say, the coincidence is a little bit too much. Exactly 7 years, a little bit over 7 years since 2017. And at a time whereby we have people who are singing the song of saying, ED must go, and others are singing ED 2030. Why this coincidence that this is at the same time that the tanks are seen in the streets? So what we can be sure of is the fact that someone was flexing their muscle. But what we are not 100% sure of is who was flexing the muscle. Is it the president's camp, President Emerson Munangagwa's camp? Or is it VP Chiwenga's camp? Or is it the comrades that are, obviously we know which side that they are on? So for that reason, the whole country is in a state of a pause, which reminisces the 2017 Asante Sana moment, whereby people are not really sure what's going on. But also people remember that just about a week ago, Comrade Geza said, wait for the signal. We're going to send a signal to the people of Zimbabwe. Is this the signal? Is the signal going to come? It's difficult to say whether this is the signal or not, because no one has claimed that they are the ones that sent these tanks on the streets, which tells us that this was a show of power. And from now on, someone is either going to win or lose. Whoever was commanding and was showing that force most probably has an upper hand because they were flexing. But no one really has it as fact, at least in terms of the general public, of who sent the tanks onto the street. Now, of course, people will claim and people will make all different forms of claims around it and commentary, but most of it is commentary. However, we want to see what this means. Now, most civilians were just watching. People are just looking and say, okay, what's going on? However, at the same time, it has created excitement. There is some form of excitement that is now there of saying, wait, some are saying, I thought there isn't really anything happening. But this was now that point that showed that definitely there's something happening. Definitely there's something that is in the water. Is it the crocodile? Who knows? So, because we don't have anything concrete that is come from the two camps to say that they are claiming that, we are the ones that sent the tanks in the streets, all we can do is make assumptions. And all we can do is to analyze it from a vantage point of history. So we know that when this happened in 2017, it was specifically because there was a move that was taking place. And after this had happened in 2017, that's when we had the president at that time was under house arrest. In this case, do we know if this same should be expected? We don't know. However, what we know is that someone is going to win and someone is going to lose. Now, the president might win the battle. And after winning the battle, he might make a decision to keep his VP and the people around him there, but just as a show, to act as if he was never under threat. Or he could make a decision to do away with them. At the same time, it could be the other camp that can win from this. And as they win from this point, we then expect a new ushering of a new leadership in Zanu PF and in the country. As we have said, in terms of the country, it's at the mercy of Zanu PF. It depends what Zanu PF decides to do, because this is still a Zanu PF battle. It's still a Zanu PF internal fight. I did a video a few days back where I was explaining that this is a Zanu PF issue, but it's a moment for all Zimbabweans. Do we just stay as spectators and watch, or do we participate? Now, if we participate, in which way or form do we participate? Based on the fact that this is an internal Zanu PF issue. That is a discussion that is a bit difficult. But the reality of the matter is, whatever the outcome of this is still going to impact each and every Zimbabwean's life. So you can either be on the backseat and just say, people decide what they want to do with my life. People will decide what they want to do with our country. But what you need to realize is the fact that if the president goes on the basis that there's intentions to extend the term of office, that means we have set a precedence that this is not to be done. That is a very critical precedent. Remember, there was a precedent that was set in 2017 of someone staying in the dance floor for too long and not leaving the circle and giving others an opportunity to get in and dance. That is the reason why it looks easier and palatable that this could be happening now. So those precedences are still very important. If you look in history, even in countries that had military dictatorships like Nigeria, their ushering into democracy was still based on dictators and military commanders making a decision at some point to pass on to democracy. So we cannot just sit and say, look, if it is a Zanu PF issue, we stay out of it because it doesn't affect us. It affects each and everyone's life. Remember, here's an example. The VP is the gentleman who said a doctor is a skilled laborer. He's the same individual. At the same time, remember, the person who's in office is the one who's flirting with the potential of an extension of a second term. Now, another interesting point that a lot of us have not looked at is, where actually is the other VP, Mr. Kembo Mohadi? No one actually knows where he stands, at least in the public. At the same time, there's a de facto female VP, Opam Chinguri. Where does she stand with these matters? No one actually has that understanding, at least that has been clear that this is where she is. So, and it's going to be very interesting the next couple of days or so to actually see how things are going to pan out. It would be interesting to actually find out what happens, because we are currently SADC chairs. If we have a change of guard, what then happens to our chairmanship? Especially if that change of guard is through a military means. Who then is going to lead SADC to establish a position? But at the same time, SADC last time just folded its hands when President Mugabe was pushed out by his fellows. Which kind of, maybe to some extent you can say it was a sign to show that even SADC was tired of President Mugabe. So is SADC tired of President Munangagwa, or they're happy with him? So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of days as we see how things will unfold. So let's stay put.